Bum, bada bum, 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 bum. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Party Invite show. My name is Tegan. That's me. Over here, I have Chris.
Hello.
Over there, we have Vilos.
Hi.
And over here, we got Sovereign Sid.
Hello, do not perceive me.
Never.
And we are Party Invite. Here we strive to bring people a little bit closer through video games, whether that's playing, discussing, or enjoying everything else from memes to trailers to Twitch streams. So we bring you a show every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time in two parts. We've got the podcast first, which is right now. You can hear that on any of your podcatchers of choice. If you didn't know, Spotify has a video version now, so you can still see the Twitch VOD through Spotify. Or you can catch us on YouTube and all that. But following that is a game stream each week. And this week, we are going to play Stray. Stray is a game about a kitty. You play a kitty in a... I don't think it's post-apocalyptic or anything like that, but it's a cyberpunk.
In a world.
It is?
Yeah. There's no humans.
There's no... Oh, well, then...
Officially.
Are we sure that's post-apocalyptic or is that utopia?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so you play a kitty, bumping bottles off of ledges and talking to your robot pals all over that city. So Chris is going to take the pilot seat on that one. He's playing it on PlayStation Plus. So if you have PlayStation Plus, you can play it too. And hopefully you'll get an idea of what to expect from our stream here. But that's the second half of the show. The first half of the show is the podcast. And we'll start with what we've been playing. After that, we'll get to our topic of the day, which is talking about emotional video games. The emotions that we feel and that attract us to certain types of games and how those games stick with us. So let's start with what we've been playing. Who wants to go first?
I can go first because it's so quick. I've been playing Prey, and we've talked too much about it. So I'll just say it's really, really good, and go watch our VODs.
Yeah, we've been...
I second
We've
that.
at least got 3 of them, right?
We did the 4th one last night.
Yep.
So I went back and double-checked that. We have been playing on Tuesdays, and we'll continue to play on Tuesdays, because we want this show to have a variety of games and not just the same stuff that one or several of us are gushing about. We're probably not going to play it again on this Wednesday show. That'll probably just be a Tuesday thing until it's done. There are lots of games I love, but if everybody just lets me play all the stuff I like to talk about already, we'd literally do nothing else. So we're going to avoid that. But yeah, Chris and I have been going through Prey, and if you really want to hear what we have to say about it, last night we probably talked for at least 20 minutes after we finished playing, and just kind of unpacked everything we saw, compared both of our playthroughs a little bit, and Chris, you had mentioned while we were doing that Prey is probably now one of your top 10 video games, and I think as much as I've just been thinking about that game, I mean, I'm not that far in. Like the stuff that we just unlocked in yesterday's session basically seems like the real start of this game. Like I finally unlocked the core mechanics that we're going to see for the rest of the game. But I think I'm going to try to write something on the website about it, because Prey is the game that everyone needs to get their hands on. If you're somebody who likes BioShock at all, even a little bit, you need to play Prey. There are so many good things going on that are similar to those games, but also unique. And like I said, we've talked about it at length already, so I'm not going to bring all that stuff up again. But it's really good, very impressed, and I just can't wait to get through the rest of that.
It's 5 years old now, which is crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been playing that too, but I joked that now that we're playing Stray tonight, I can use all the same Prey puns that I've been using.
No.
So tonight is our first Stray through. I
actually commented on the Facebook post earlier. I was like, oh yes, pray, because it rhymes.
you know?
Yeah.
So don't worry, I got several of those. Ooh, chat's unhappy. Boy, tough crowd.
Sad trombone music now.
I've got a few of those in the chamber, so you'll get to hear
No,
those
chat,
later.
don't stray.
When I shared it, I said all work and no stray makes Jack a dull boy. So anyway,
That's so
This
good.
is our life.
Any stray.
this is our life. Vilas, you got a bunch of games on your list.
I do. Yeah, I'll throw out my first one. Fire Emblem Three Houses. I've been playing through the expansion Cindered Shadows because I just hadn't in 2 years of that expansion being out, and I need to get on to the Three Hopes Warriors game. So,
honest question: how many
yes.
Fire Emblem games are there that have 3 either in the title or is like the main theme? You're like
just
main.
It's just 2, but there's, I think that's 3 games that have 3 paths, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you know how bad I am with like dyslexia, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and just mixing up names anyway. So like when this so there's 3 houses, and what's the other one that I just saw somebody?
Three Houses
Hopes.
and Three Hopes. Three
Yeah.
Hopes is the Warriors game based on Three Houses.
Okay.
So there's a reason for it. It's not like a random another franchise spot.
And they just came out with DLC too, right?
Uh,
Or they
for-
announced DLC or something like in the last
they announced some
direct.
stuff for Three Hopes. Yeah, it just came out a few weeks ago, so excited about that. But Cindered Shadows, the what is technically the 4th playthrough for Three Houses, introduces 4 new characters, and once you play through Cindered Shadows, you actually get those characters available to join you in the main campaign. And boy, if you haven't played Three Houses, just do it. If you have played Three Houses and haven't played the expansion, for the most part, I would say it's worth it. I got 15 hours of gameplay out of the expansion. Some people got through it in about 10 hours, but holy shit, the final boss in that game takes some work.
It takes after Final Fantasy, and you have to actually fight 3 houses at the same time.
Oh, you might as well.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, you're fighting this one monster, and I think you've got 10 people in your party. Technically, 10 people worth of strategizing to take down this one monster, and it can still be an hour-long battle.
Ooh.
I beat it on my technical second attempt, but there's a thing called a Dragon Pulse in the game where you can rewind to any point that you might have messed up in, and you have 8 Dragon Pulses. I think it's 8 Dragon Pulses in this particular fight, and the first time I played through, I actually used all of them, and over, I think it was about 6 hours, just completely lost the fight every possible way you could imagine.
It's too much.
Yeah. And so I slept on it, literally slept for 12 hours on from Sunday to Monday.
On top of it. It was under your pillow.
Yes. No, the controller literally was like on me still. I was passed the fuck out. And then I came back last night to it, did a little bit of work, and I actually beat it in about 20 minutes. So I'm feeling really accomplished. But Cindered Shadows is really cool, and the same characters are coming to Three Hopes. I think that was part of the newest info about the Three Hopes, the Warriors game. So I'm really excited to finally have Three Houses technically done. I didn't play through all the 4 campaigns, but I did the important stuff, and I did breach the 100-hour mark in Three Houses total with that Cindered Shadows playthrough. So
nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that it's an achievement, faux show. But yeah, I'll leave my other 2 games because they're pretty short for after we get what Sob's been playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I have delved back into the world of Arcadegeddon, just because like it's such a nice little time sink. It's so like run and gun loot shoot sort of deal, and I really like those little tiny like romps. If I'm just feeling bored, I don't know what to play, I'll just log into Arcadegeddon and do a few run throughs. What's really neat about it is like I compare it to Borderlands meets Ready Player One, but there are also some like roguelite elements to it because each run you get to upgrade yourself with like perks and stuff that you find that augment your stats for that particular run, but those are only temporary and they only last you for that run. And then you can upgrade yourself outside of battle, like bringing in the powers that your gauntlet can do and doing all that stuff there. So it's got like some roguelike elements to it that I like that has drawn me to it. It's got me off of Gunfire Reborn, which I've been obsessed with forever. So I really like that. I'm excited to find out how it plays on the Steam Deck because that's my first thing that I do whenever I get a new game. I'm like, how's it play on the Steam Deck? Because I got a Steam Deck. it's
Gotta make it
it's
worth
kind
that
of
money.
mandatory because you're like not even Steam Deck knows all the games that it can play like comfortably. Like I believe the first time I talked about it, I broke it down to like all the categories that it has it listed, like great on deck, and then not so much or we don't know. So like we're out here doing research for people, the people who got our Steam Decks like earlier. So I feel I feel obligated. So once I get the Epic Games Launcher on my Steam Deck, which is apparently super easy to do, like easier than Game Pass, then I'll be figuring that out.
Nice.
It's I've gotten so like further into the game, but I still haven't unlocked the lady that I want to talk to yet. The dancing lady, space lady. And I'm sad because she's so cool.
Oh, it's got character customization. That's why I see what's going on here.
What? No,
Oh baby.
It looks cool though.
Yeah, it does.
yeah, it's a lot
Very
of fun.
colorful.
And
Is
the
this
music
a
is like
free-to-play?
super. It's not, unfortunately. I think it's $39.99.
Okay.
But I mean, I think it's worth getting. I've had a lot of fun with it so far. It's drop in, drop out play, just like Borderlands. So you could form a party with rando people, or, of course, with your friends, and then they can, leave at will and whatnot.
And it's all
And all of the
PvE, right?
sorry.
It's all. Never mind. The trailer just answered it. In fact, I even think I asked you this last week, and I just couldn't remember. So it has PvE and PvP. It looks like.
Yes. So PvP is like a separate mode that you access from the main hub, and it's kind of like Mario Party, like there are like deathmatch modes in it and stuff, but there are also some other like zany stuff too. In the trailer, I think that shows some kind of like baseball game and some other things. So I haven't delved yet into that. The next time I play, well, the next time I stream it, I'm going to be hopping into that and also partying up with people because I haven't done that yet. I wanted to like kind of first of all find the weapons that I like to use, find the gauntlet stuff that I like to use, and then get my playstyle before jumping into a team. Because if I don't know that, then I'm not really going to be helping the team.
Sure.
Right.
As far as I've seen, though, the only really big thing to worry about are the boss battles. Because I've upped the difficulty to like level 8 before. You can do it manually, or you can just do it by progressing naturally through the story or through the run. But if you do it manually, it costs you like money that you earn during your current run. So that's another way that it's a roguelike. You can augment the like what's it called in Hades? The
Darkness.
different sorry? No, not the darkness. The like the different escalations that you can do. Are they escalations?
Oh, yeah. It's on your contract. What are they called? They're not called escalations, but
I think they're called that in Slay the Spire maybe. But anyway, it's one of those like deals. You can manually
ascensions.
Thank you. Okay. It's kind of like that. You do it manually within the run, or doing it naturally. But I haven't had any problem on low difficulties yet, except for bosses. They've one-shot me before, and it hurts. It sucks because I'm like doing all good with like the mobs and everything, and then the boss is just like, "Hello,
gotcha.
die." So yeah, it's been a blast so far. I really like. Go ahead.
The characters kind of look like a 90s like Saturday morning cartoon that I can't place.
Ooh,
but that's what it's that's
not Reboot.
That's the
Reboot?
vibes I'm getting. No.
Okay.
This looks better than Reboot.
It's this looks like it would be cousins with Fusion Frenzy. It's not a mini game, but it's got a ton of different systems going on, all the color, all the style, especially when they show that PvP bit in there where you're like shooting the platforms out from under your opponents.
Mhm.
Yeah, that looks cool.
That's fun.
Highly recommend.
In Hades, the Pact of Punishment is how you upgrade. You know how you make it harder.
Okay.
So it's really just the Pact. But yeah, the Ascensions are from Slay the Spire. Wait, you know in Spelunky, I can feel like I'm having a great run, but the boss, you know, in that game, if you get squished, you are dead. There's no surviving from a squish or like a spike on the ground. And so there'll be times where I'm just like, oh yeah, we're doing it. Oh baby, and we're dead.
And squish.
It's over. So,
Right.
right. That's one way to make it go fast. What was it? Violet, when you were talking about the long boss fight with a bunch of your companions, it made me think of the boss fight in Elden Ring where you straight up summoned a bunch of other characters and all like 12 of you go and take on this boss that is like 30 stories tall. And that fight does not last well, it doesn't last that long. But I was thinking, I'm like, man, with me it goes super quickly because the boss just one-shots me pretty much every time. You know, so can't be a long boss fight when you're dead.
Right.
And games do some weird shit. Like I am a Fire Emblem fanatic, you know, and the game literally tells you a couple different characters are like, don't be too hasty at the very start of the battle, and you're like, okay, I'll believe you. And then if you believe them and you're like, I'll be very tactful, you're just gonna get fucking punished. And if you actually do what you're supposed to for that final boss fight, you're actually supposed to get everybody into position and all attack at the same time. And that was only cemented. Like, I had the idea, I was like, I bet I'm supposed to actually bum rush this enemy. And I looked on YouTube, and this dude finished the fight in like 15 minutes or something and lost one character. I was like, are you serious right now? Like, it was ridiculous. And then when I did it in a little over 20 minutes, I was like, of course.
Of course.
You just got to not listen to the characters.
Right. They're like, take everything you've learned, and when you get to this boss, throw it all away.
Like, for real, I've got like 300 hours of Fire Emblem experience at this point, and I'm like, God, man. All right.
She was a spy. She wanted you to suffer.
You know, that Edelgard, man, she's spicy, but you can't trust her all the time. I'll go ahead with my second game.
Yeah.
I played through House of the Dead Remake, which, if anybody's familiar with Forever Entertainment, they released the Panzer Dragoon remake a little over a year and a half ago.
Ooh.
I loved that. Played the hell out of that on my Switch. And House of the Dead Remake, like, it is what it is. But this is a game that, just like the Panzer Dragoon series, basically, the old files were largely lost. And so Forever Entertainment got the rights, and they decided to make what is more of a spiritual remake than anything. And they brought this arcadey experience to the Switch that's really, as you can see in the video, it does not look good, but the point is that it's not supposed to look good, right? It's an arcade shooter. It's on the rails. It's old as hell. Like, I think the original came out in 99, something like that. And of course, there's like 4, maybe 5 House of the Dead games in arcades and on a couple of the consoles, but it's super campy, super stupid, very fun.
Yeah.
It's really the easiest way to say it. You can beat the entire game in about 45-50 minutes. Even though, thankfully, the game is it's forgiving because you get, like, I think 10 continues.
That's nice.
Technically still goes through the continue process. If you do waste those, you can purchase more continues, but
for real dollars.
Thankfully, no. At the end of the day, it's really meant for that co-op experience, just like it would have been in the arcade. If I don't find somebody to play it with soon, though, I'm gonna just dual Joy-Con it and go at it, because it does use the gyro controls.
I want to see you do that, because that, like, I'll never forget the time that I was in an arcade with my pals, and they either ran out of quarters or had to walk away or something. And I was like, oh my goodness, my time has come. I now have access to 2 guns. I'm going to do 2 times as well. And I picked those bad boys up, and my accuracy went to like 10% maybe.
Yep.
Because it turns out you can't aim either gun when you're trying to shoot both guns. And I really, like, I did so bad. I died. I put the thing down and walked away, and I was like, you know what? I really learned something here. This was designed for one person twice, not one person double, dual wielding. I was like, this thing was made a specific way, and I should have respected that, because trying to use it my way was just like unplayable, And what was I going to be mad? Because like the whole time I'm straight up shooting at the screen, and you can kind of see where you're shooting. And I'm just like a stormtrooper. I can see myself. I'm like, aim there, right in the middle. And the guns are just like, just all around the enemies, somehow hitting every single other thing, but never the enemy. I was like, wow, this is, things don't always go the way you expect them to.
No. I remember doing that with
definitely
T2,
understand.
trying to play with both, and it's just it's a nightmare.
Oh, but the giant rumbly guns, like, those are the best.
The ones that are like on the pivot, and you like have to like.
Yeah, you just.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So satisfying.
You're feeling it like 2 hours later. You're like, muscle memory. Like,
right.
Yep.
We went to an arcade up here. Well, actually, it was like a tiny thing in a bowling alley, and they had some cool games and some funny like licensed stuff that I'd never seen before. There was like a massive House of the Dead style thing with 4 players, and it was a Tomb Raider, like a modern Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, like Guardian of Light, or the other one. What was it, Temple of Osiris?
Sure.
One of those.
And
yeah.
it was an on-rails shooter like this, and it was pretty good. And if I remember, I think that one had good feedback in the controls. But there was like a Halo Warthog one nearby, like a racing thing. And then there was this other like Galaga, or not Galaga, Space Defenders? Is that what it's called? Space Invaders? The one where it drops down and goes left and right and then drops down.
Yeah,
and
that's Invaders. Yeah.
So we played that, except in this one you like have a gun that does the thing you just described. And I've never played an arcade game with such a powerful like rumble machine inside of it. Like you press that thing and I'm like, I don't even care if I hit. I just don't want it to stop. This is crazy.
But House of the Dead, I really recommend it for it being what it is. It's technically not a spoiler because the end of the game has been around for 25 years or whatever, but it's just really funny how stupid the story is. The main bad guy is a doctor that obviously, just like the Resident Evil series, like he was going out of his way to find a cure for something when he ends up causing zombies, and he just power goes to his head, and he at the end of this game he creates what basically looks like a zombie demon version of Mewtwo. And it's so funny. He's like, I've created says something stupid like I've created the greatest invention of all time or whatever, and this Mewtwo looking thing comes up, and and it's like, who are you? No one can control me. And he instantly kills the dude. And it's like, what is going on? And it's like 2 minutes of story, and it just blows the entire thing away. It makes no sense. But it's so much fun for being a short experience. And the whole thing, just like Panzer Dragoon and any of the other on-rail shooter kind of things, it's about just getting a better time, performing better in the game. So it is endlessly replayable. I played it on a Pro controller on my Switch, and obviously that is not the optimal way to do it. So as soon as I can, I'm gonna get on those gyro controls.
Like I used the Pro controller, and I fought that final boss for 6 hours.
Yes.
I didn't hit him once. I just imagine you like using your sticks to move around, but the sensitivity is like really low, so you're just like slowly. Oh, he's too fast. Oh, I can't get to him.
Surprisingly, the controller.
You gotta move quicker than that.
Yeah. The stick controls were actually really good. I was very surprised because I really didn't expect them to be worth it at all. But I was pretty accurate. The one funny thing in the game though is they had an update. I think it was just a couple days ago. That one of the major sticking points of the game was eliminating the voice that says reload, because throughout the whole game you're just using a pistol until you like unlock other weapons and stuff, and your pistol has 6 bullets. Now if you're shooting as much as you are supposed to shoot in this game, you're hearing the voice go reload, 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 like not even 3 seconds go by because you're just on the triggers, just hammering that shit. And I swear to you, it has to, like, you have to hear it 2,000 times. I'm not even kidding. Just because of the amount of shots that you're firing. But of course, I updated it like after I had played through it.
Oh,
If only they had named this House of the Dead Reloaded, you know? It's iconic.
That actually is a PlayStation 1 game about like zombies. It's isometric and it is super fun. If you like games like Smash TV or anything like that, it is so much fun. Loaded. So yeah.
Fun.
Yes.
Recolon. Is that what you said?
Oh boy.
I've got one more, but I'll let Sav go with the next one.
There you go.
So I've been playing Spelunky 2. No. Da, da, da.
Hey, I know we've got next week's game lined out. BT Dubs, it's As Dusk Falls chat, so we're really excited for that. And actually, chat can they can interact. You can actually vote in the game on that stream. But we still need to put together. We figured out details on co-op Spelunky. So if the 3 of you want to play a game that you only have to hate for 20 minutes, Chris, it's gonna be great.
Provided you are good enough in that run, Tegan.
So I've thought about this. I know you're completely derailing this because Sav was just making a joke, but if we play, I'm not going to be player 1 because then the camera will follow me and screw you guys up. I'd rather have it follow one of you, and then eventually when you die, it'll give it to me, and then I think it gives it back to the real player 1 at the beginning of every level, I think.
I mean, I can keep out.
Then hey, you're player 1.
Oh, well.
We'll have the camera follow you. The rest of us will go nuts. Be like, oh, I fell off the screen, and then
it should definitely be someone else because I play like you do. So
yeah. Well, we'll give it to Chris. That way, Chris can have the most fun.
Inching along.
Oh my god.
The
I would
best.
just throw myself onto the spikes right then.
Watching Spelunky 1 streams, like you see somebody like fall down a pit, and they're like, "Hey, I'm down below, main character. Come down here so I can see." And then the main character comes down, and you realize, oh, the person didn't land on. Oh, they're squished. They're impaled. Oops. But we'll do that soon. I mean, maybe we do end up doing that later on a Wednesday just because it's all 4 of us. But I've really been excited about that because it's completely unhinged. Absolute chaos. So that's what I've been playing. But really, that's actually all I've been playing. That and the other stuff, Prey, that we already talked about. So that's a wrap on me.
Okay, well, then I'm going to take that player 1 camera and put it back on me so I can talk about Multiversus. So this isn't the first time I mentioned Multiversus, but now it is in open beta, except for it's not really an open beta yet. Right now it's an early access open beta because, of course, you have to have one of those. And I was grandfathered over into the early access because I was in both of the closed technicals and the closed alpha. But if you want to get in on the early access one, you could just watch a stream with drops, and then you could get in that way. Or maybe buying a Founders Pack will get you in as well. I'm not really sure what all the Founders Pack entails in that regard, but it does come with like the Gleamy and premium currency and character tickets, so you don't have to spend gold to unlock people, blah, blah, blah. But open beta for Real opens on the 29th. So if you don't get early access, or the 26th, sorry. If you don't get early access, then you could still wait until the 26th, and then you'll be able to play with everyone else. And it is crossplay. But once you choose your platform for this test, you're stuck on that platform. You can't switch between them. So make sure that you choose wisely. It's between PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. So I play with an Xbox controller on my PC. That's just the easiest way for me since I also stream it. But I mean, it plays well across all platforms from what I've seen. So whichever one is the most comfortable for you, I would advise getting on there. If you were in the closed alpha already, then you don't have to enter a new code for the open beta. However, if you were on PC, they will send you a new one in the email. But as for what the game actually is, for the people who don't know, it is a platform fighter by Warner Brothers Studios, and it's got like all the Hanna-Barbera people in it. So Scooby-Doo, and it's got like the the superheroes, so like the Justice League. It's got Batman and Wonder Woman. It's got Looney Tunes in there, Tom and Jerry. They introduced Taz as well. It's got Arya Stark in it. No more confirmed Game of Thrones people yet, but there are more like instances of Game of Thrones like merchandise in the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone else made an appearance. I think it'd be really cool if one of the wolves did, like Ghost. That would be cool.
Oh yeah.
Who else is in there?
I think it's rad that they just added Iron Giant. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
He's huge, by the way. They
Yeah,
didn't
he's
like
gigantic.
they
Oh,
didn't like
yeah.
shrink him like they did Ridley. I mean, they did Ridley's still kind of big, but Iron Giant is like he big. Like he take like a lot, like all the seasons.
Yeah, let me
I
see
was
if I
just
can
thinking
find
about
him in this trailer again because like you see Superman in here. Oh my goodness. Okay, here's a perfect you'll be able to see this on stream. Never expanding roster, and then you see Taz looking normal. And then the Iron Giant, like 3 times his size.
Yep.
Yeah.
As tall as this entire like bottom level.
I was just thinking about it because you were like all the Hanna-Barbera people, and I was like, oh my gosh, are they gonna put like Harvey Birdman and stuff in this? Like that would be.
Well, they could. People have been
Something.
submitting like suggestions and things because they're open to feedback. They said no holds barred. Like anyone that we have license to, like Warner Brothers is like all for it, which already far and away puts them ahead of like that Nickelodeon game because first of all, the studio didn't even believe in their game, and then they didn't get any of the licensing for the voice actors, and then like it's just a mess. I'm not going to talk too much about
Game's
it.
already $10. It was $10 this week on Switch. Like
Free.
Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
It's free
Wow.
on PlayStation.
Oh, I think it might be one of their like plus games or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
All-Star Brawl or
vastly
whatever.
inferior. I would just get Multiversus, y'all. Don't even mess with that one. Because Multiversus is free and it will be free on launch. It will have a battle pass system and you'll be able to unlock cosmetics and things like that to customize your skins for your fighters and banners and titles and things like that, profile icons. So it's one of those, games as a service games, which in the past, I've frowned about. But like I love this game. I'm willing to throw money at this game. And y'all already know it's got founders packs. So you know what that means. I bought the $100 founders pack.
Oh. Oh
Chad
my
and I
gosh.
were having such a good laugh about that because the last couple of games that I did that for were just like, I never touched them again. I did that for New World. I did that for Godfall. I did that for, shoot. What was the other one? I don't think it was $100, but I bought
Didn't
them
you
as
pay like
a special
70
offer.
for Century?
Yeah, Century. Yeah. But that one I still, I enjoy. But I actually just recommended it in the chat. So, yeah, so it's another, Borderlands. That was the other one. Borderlands 3.
What?
I got the $100 founders pack or, edition of that one. Played it for 2 hours.
Nailed
Total.
Worth.
Still to this day.
Oh man.
But this one, I mean, y'all already know how much I put into just the closed tests, right?
Can we
Like-
talk about these $100 editions of things just for 2 seconds? Because there is in sports games they always do this, right? Because they have like a ton of this like digital currency and stuff to increase how your player plays and all this stuff. But this year, NBA 2K23, they are also adding NBA League Pass in there in like the ultimate edition of the game, which is like 120 or something. So you get basically like a probably like $100 value from NBA League Pass also when you purchase that. So they're actually like, I know that like 2K has like been really, really bad with their digital currency stuff and like how that works, like actually making it like gambling and especially in NBA. But it was cool for them to be like, oh, here's also NBA League Pass for the entire season. I was like, They're finally doing stuff instead of being like, hey, you got a digital skin and a bunch of coins.
Yeah.
$100.
I mean, as long
Give
as
me
there's
that.
something that actually has inherent value, like, they send you a fucking medal or something. Like, give
Yeah,
me
like the
something
reason that I
tangible,
splurge
right?
so often on those packs is because they come with like exclusive stuff that otherwise no one else can
Oh,
have.
right.
So
Yeah.
I may not log into New World for like 10 years, but when I do, I'm gonna have that Founders Edition like super skin.
You got that stuff. Yep.
And people be like, "Oh, where can you get that?" And I'll be like, if you have to ask, die. No. So, with the first pack for this one though, I thought it was worth it. It comes with like a legendary animated banner. It comes with a legendary profile picture, and it comes with a bunch of character tickets. So I don't have to worry about managing my resource to unlock characters because I could just unlock the whole roster. I already did. So I could be whoever I want right now, which is awesome. I'm 90% is going to be Wonder Woman, but I still have the option. And then your name shimmers. Instead of being like a normal like black or whatever, it's golden and it shimmers. Like when it shows up on the like banners and the versus screen and whatnot. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's worth $100, but I still paid it. Because you know what? That money is definitely going to go towards the development of this game, and I want them to keep doing what they're doing because people are already so obsessed with it, and it's not even fully out yet. You
Yeah.
know, and we got rumors of Gandalf coming. That's going to be cool. Lord of the Rings people.
Whoa.
I mean, he was like super duper mega leaked early on in development.
Hobbitses.
Hobbitses?
Yep.
Should we be
What?
playing as potatoes and whey bread?
I mean, watching their developer blogs, like they very clearly care. So that's
Yeah.
that's really nice, and definitely anytime you can put a little bit of money towards it, that's awesome.
Good.
And so far, the only voice actor that they have that is not like the original voice actor is for Steven. They have a substitute for him, Steven Universe, because the original voice actor is like on mental health leave or whatever. But that's the only reason,
Wow.
Everyone
Yeah.
else is like, true to form. So we got Kevin Conroy, Tara Strong, Estelle playing Garnet. Estelle? I think is her name. The British singer lady. All the greats. So definitely worth it. Unlike that one Nick game. Who couldn't even, I mean, I'm done. I'm done talking about that. Get Multiversus, y'all. do the thing.
They have a lot of licenses. I don't know if you guys know that.
For real.
Oh yeah, they do. Like Rick and Morty is actually going to be coming to the game as well. Mr. Meeseeks is already in there as an item. So we
how
are
about Dirty Harry? So just put Clint Eastwood in there. Dirty Harry.
Technically, I guess if they wanted to, they could do Harry Potter. That would suck, but they could because they do have the rights to it.
They
The
probably
Matrix.
will.
They have
You gotta have
Hagrid's
a
son.
Neo in there.
Johnny Quest.
Yeah. What's really
Mad
neat though is
Max?
about like I really love how it's ally oriented. Most platform fighters are, kind of do your own thing, and it's 1v1 centric competitively. But this is 2v2 competitively. Like that's their competitive focus. That's where they want the drive to be for the career of like the esports career of the game.
Mhm.
And so what that does is that opens up a role that we've never seen in a platform fighter before, which is
Yeah.
support. There's a support role. Like there's an actual characters that are support characters. Velma is one of them, and then there's an original character named Rain Dog, who is a reindeer dog hybrid. Super cute, super
Classic.
fluffy. But like characters that focus on healing, providing shields, and safeguarding, like preventing you from being wrung out and stuff. Like there's a whole support role, which is something that I don't think we've ever seen in a platform fighter before.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that
So
before.
I think that's just awesome because people think that whenever a new platform fighter comes out, it's going to be like, oh, it's a Smash clone. Oh, it's a Smash clone. Like Rivals did the 2D thing, and people compare that to Melee.
I mean, it's the easiest thing that people can talk about because everyone has that shared language of it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
It's like,
but it's also a genre, though. You know what I mean?
well, I would say this compares very well to like Dark Souls, right? Dark Souls is a game, but or Metroidvania. The game and the genre are basically the way that people have to talk about it because they know that, like, people who don't know anything about games, as long as they know that one, they understand a huge piece of what you're talking about. So people say Smash clones because they're like, I don't know what else. There are plenty of people who don't even know like what a platformer is, right? They know what a platformer is, they just don't know the name of it.
Right.
But you call it a Smash clone, even if it's not, and they can at least get a general picture of what that looks like. I just find it interesting because like it's definitely not precise at all. It's not a precise way to talk about games, but it's like vague enough that you can include people and they aren't just instantly checked out. Because it's easy for people to feel like if they don't know a lot about games, like if they don't recognize words you're talking about, then they'll get like uncomfortable. They'll feel like they're excluded, which is something I've run into with my friends when I talk about games to my non-gaming friends.
Well, like I understand where that comes from. Like I understand that point. It's just like the way that you say something kind of frames how it will be perceived, So like if I'm describing a platform fighter, I'll be like, oh, it's like Smash Bros. Like I'll say it's like Smash Bros. I won't, because saying it's a Smash clone devalues the game that you're talking about. It's just like, why would I play this game if it's just a clone of Smash? Why don't I just go play Smash?
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I understand that point, but then at that point I would just be like, it's like Smash.
Mm-hmm.
But with Warner Brothers characters. Like I even called it in my game title, I called it Super Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
But the way that it changes it up, the formula, is that it has that ally focus. So even then, I wouldn't even call it a Smash clone, because Smash is definitely individual focused. So that's my like original point, was that I love how it's changing up the genre and making us think about anything that a platform fighter could be. What's next?
Yeah, and like you said, it's nice like. Because this is in my head like the third thing like this. You have Smash, and then you have the Nickelodeon one, which was not a Smash hit. And then you have this one. So it's like tough because it's almost, and this applies to anything you can think of. When you have a second thing that's really close to the first thing, and that second thing doesn't do well, and then a third thing shows up, it's hard for people to give it the patience that it deserves because they're thinking about the second thing, And you're like, no, get rid of this idea you have in your head because these are totally different things, and I'm telling you, it's worth it. I mean, Chris and I talking about Prey, right? I thought that Prey was just like BioShock, but in space. And it's like BioShock, but you're talking about a support role. I've never heard anything like that in a platformer. Like that's completely unique. It's in Prey, I think, besides the thing that I'm not going to spoil that we just unlocked last night, the fact that you can like shoot your glue gun on the wall and then climb on it to reach anything you can think of, it's like BioShock, but stuff like that completely makes it worthwhile as its own entity. Which is really nice, like for podcasts like ours, where podcasts are the biggest way that I discover games that weren't on my radar, and it's because like I kind of get skeptical at official like journalist game reviews. Or we were joking before the show about Fox News' barbecue top 5 cities for barbecue in the United States, and part of that is because like you just have a writer who's like super biased, and sometimes that bias can be valuable in whatever you're talking about. But I remember years ago there was somebody on one of the big websites, maybe it was Kotaku or Polygon, but Mass Effect 3 had come out, and the person that they chose to write about it opens their statement with, well, you guys know that I didn't like the other Mass Effect games, but I tried to give this one a shot. Well, I hated it. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, why did they choose this person with the least valuable insight to be the person that people like me are going to read, So stuff like that made me skeptical of reviews, but when you hear people, here in Sav, hear you talk about this game, just from how excited you are, from like a player and a streamer and a creator perspective, instead of like a professional journalist perspective, or whatever the hell you'd call that thing I described with Mass Effect. I feel like you get so much more genuine feedback from stuff like that. And so like I care less about a Metacritic review, but when I hear someone like you talk about the game in that way, I'm on board. Suddenly it's way up on my list, where before wouldn't have cared at all. So I'm here to hear all the multiversus talk you got, And you have Twitch drops enabled on your channel, right?
Yes. So if you come through and you watch for a lot, don't leave. then you get a drop, which will give you access into the early access beta. And I think Vilos confirmed earlier that buying a Founders Pack does give you instant access as well. But from our conversations about Blizzard and Overwatch 2, I'm not going to actually say that that's the reason that you should buy that.
Yeah.
Although I would condone buying these Founders Packs. Obviously. Since I did.
Right.
Carlos, do you want to tell us about your Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball on the Super Nintendo clone?
Yeah, 100%. No, my last game. I'm gonna take like 20 seconds because somehow we're gonna fit a party topic and a game in here. I don't know.
Yeah, we're so.
I mean,
yeah.
we could always save the party topic for later. It's our show, it's not against the law.
But it was not the last game I played, but one of the games that I spent a lot of time with this week was MLB The Show 22. I played it on Switch. I dared to buy it on Switch because they had a good deal on it. It was $30. And if you are into those kind of games, MLB The Show and the 2K games and stuff like that, this is actually one of the best ports I've seen on the Switch. Because anybody that knows MLB The Show, it is a pretty-ass game with the best animations that I have seen in a sports game. And even though the resolution is definitely lower, there's some quality things there that are not the best on the Switch. This game looks fantastic, and it plays just like MLB The Show is supposed to play. Absolutely fantastic. The best baseball game that you can play, period. And the fact that it's portable on Switch is so nice.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that it's good on the
yeah.
Switch.
I mean, did you see my video on Twitter? It actually looks really good. It looks better on Twitter than it actually does on the system, but that's something completely different. I don't even know, but no, it actually, the animation quality is just so high that the resolution almost doesn't even matter anymore. It's very surprising.
Carlos, I meant to ask you this when we put this up here. Am I good to show this trailer? Because I remember one of the things that is that YouTube will actually enforce is remember wrestling, or I think we had a different MLB.
Oh no, WWE is a very specific thing. So MLB The Show is just fine, and that's the official Nintendo video. So, boom.
Cool. I will still play that. Yeah, because I joke about us not getting bonked by any of the DMCA's or anything, but then MLB is gonna come in here and just be like, "No, you are too little."
Yeah, we're seeing the lovely Shohei Ohtani, the greatest thing to happen to baseball in 100 years, basically. But yeah, definitely, if you have any kind of itch to play a baseball game, especially on Switch, go ahead and grab it up. It's still on sale for $30 at Best Buy and a lot of places right now, so get it while you can. It was actually also the eShop had it on discount, I think, until today or maybe sometime later this week. But yeah, it's super good, and it takes some getting used to, but it's got some of the most accessibility options I've ever seen in a game as well. There's so many things you can do to learn how to play it, as well as figure out what you're best at and how to play the different modes. It's absolutely wild, the options that game gives you, and it's the full experience on Switch.
Hey, and that commercial had a Muppet in it, so
it did. It has a lot of bonus points going for it.
Amazing.
Thanks, Sob, for the extra special title for MLB The Show. That is definitely the full title.
MLB The Show 22 Gold, New Hyper Ultra Mega Super Alpha Arcade Anniversary EX Plus Edition 3 and Knuckles and Watch featuring Dante from Devil May Cry and new funky mode.
Now on mobile and Game Pass. Set in Asia.
Oh, callback.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a deep cut.
Well, I think that's it then for what we've been playing. I mean, I've been playing Rogue Company a bunch with the gang. A bunch of us have in Discord. We've tried PlanetSide. We've been doing a little bit of Raft. I'm sure there's other stuff, but you know how it is. If you want to find our Discord, which has a whole bunch of people playing a whole bunch of things, you can either read this in chat or you can go to partyinvite.games and you can find links to all of our socials over there. But I think that's it for what we've been playing. Are you guys good to roll into our party topic, or do you want a short break?
Just a quick break, right quick.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat more Hawaiian Brothers than if we're gonna break.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna play this Last of Us Remastered trailer real quick. I'm excited for this. I heard the the multiplayer is a standalone package and has its own story mode, which I think is cool. The first game did cool stuff, but just never got updated. And I want to see what it looks like if they're actually focused on updating this thing.
So you're partially right. The multiplayer is its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually not like it's not like they're remaking the multiplayer from this.
Mm-hmm.
They are kind of starting completely. They basically were starting to work on it, and then they're like, we're just gonna make it its own game, and it's its own. It'll just be. What was it called before?
It was one word. It was like
factions.
Factions. Yep.
Yeah. So it'll just be like Last of Us Factions, and be like its own standalone giant thing.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. There's cool stuff going on in there. But yeah, it just never got updated. The same with Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. Pretty cool. And they did roll out with updates, but not quality of life updates. They only rolled out with new content, which was exactly as broken as the content that came out before it. Pour one out for that game. It could have been great.
Here, can you put it on BRB screen, and we will.
Oh, I'll just put it on. I'll
Okay.
just put it on me. Hold on. Yeah, I'll do BRB. All right, everybody, I'm still talking. You didn't get enough of me yet. I'd boot up words on stream, but it takes too long. Y'all are too good. We end up getting to level, 15. We're tapping our watches.
Okay, I'm good whenever.
All right, and the show continues. Violet and Chris, they are out. They didn't make the cut.
They're dead.
So anyway, favorite cheeses, right?
Okay, provolone is my top favorite cheese.
Smoked Gouda.
Provolone and cheddar.
Oh, dude, we've got smoked Gouda is what I used for breakfast today. It's so good. And it's, man, I love it when Lizzie uses it because it just makes the kitchen smell like smoked Gouda. And that's almost as good as eating it. Navi came and sat on my lap a while ago, and everything was pretty cool. But she started to attack my hand, which means I'm moving too much. And her tail's all feisty. I know that one false move, and I'm getting a nip.
The plot thickens with danger.
All right, we back, baby.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Skirt. All right.
Odysseus has got saucy fingers. Hell yeah.
Saucy fingers. Wow. What was the winner? Ranch. I hope Wings and Ranch are treating you right.
Where do the wings come from?
Well, from the poll, of course.
Wingstop, he said. So pretty good.
Let's see. Actually, Kitty, I might need you to get up.
That is illegal, sir.
Yeah, you're breaking cat law.
I'm comfy, but I'm warm. Well, that's okay. So that's it for what we've been playing. Now, we're gonna scoot over to our party topic today. So, Vilos, you suggested this. This is the emotional games we play and why we play them. And I've definitely got stuff to say here. I definitely have examples and reasons. But when I think of this, I immediately think of you and Chris. I know that Vilos, you play so many games. What did you say? What's this? What's the next one? Like the next game you beat is number what?
24. Yeah. No, the next one that I will beat will be number 25 for the year.
Dang. So you've played almost 25 games now. Well, you've beaten almost 25 games now. And Chris, I know. Chris, I always think about what you've talked about with Disco Elysium and Mutation, which are even the examples that Vilos gave in our doc. I was like, oh yeah, those are the first ones I think of with you, Chris. It's just interesting, the different types of games we play. I mean, I thought of this for emotional. I know this wasn't really the same avenue, but I think of it as the same reason why I like horror games. There's like an Onion or Reductress article that I love. I forget the exact words, but it's like, girlfriend hesitantly tells friends that to her fear is kind of a bad thing. The idea of like trying to convince people to watch like a scary movie marathon or something, and then someone being like, yeah, maybe I don't want to be afraid because being afraid is bad.
Yeah.
So you would apply that to being sad as well. Why would I play a sad game? Why would I listen to sad music? And it's not always the appropriate thing for everybody and in every situation. But, catharsis is a wonderful thing. Flexing those muscles, like a muscle only gets stronger when you flex it. And when you flex an emotional muscle with music or video games, you can really get a lot out of it. And it might be tough to see that from a perspective of someone who maybe doesn't play emotional games, maybe someone who games a lot, but they only play competitive multiplayer, for example. I mean, I found myself in a position talking to former coworkers where I'd tell them some of the games I played and why, and they're like, they make sad video games? And I'm like, oh boy, you don't play a lot of story mode stuff, huh?
Yeah, real emotions are cool, y'all.
They are very cool. And
Wow.
there's such a wide variety of games and emotions that you can experience that way. And they're only getting better with the rise of indie games over the past decade. The stories that people are able to tell are, hey, don't try to bite me. Oh my gosh. Fear. Lizzie must be home if she's getting up that quickly. What am I even saying? The rise of indies has allowed not only a wider variety than ever before, but a higher quality in those games. And so today we're playing Stray, which I believe is an Annapurna game, right?
Yep.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
Annapurna. I hope that when we boot up the game, they add an extra R because you know how it is. But you look at a game like that, and just think how unique that is. That we're about to watch a cat explore a cool environment, right? I don't know if that story is going to be emotional at all. No idea. But the idea is that these environments and characters and game mechanics can just be so totally unique, and they can really speak to you. Chris, if I could actually, put you on the spot first,
Okay.
I would really love to hear again what your thoughts are on Mutation, because that's a game that you talked about for quite a while before I ever really understood what it was, because I kept mixing that up with some other, the Children of Morta game, I think. So I didn't understand what that was. But I ended up trying it on a brunch stream a while back, and I'm so glad I did. So yeah, do you want to talk about why that game really spoke to you?
I mean, it's so without getting like, oh, well, Webster's dictionary says that art is, but seriously, the definition of art is like doing something creatively that conveys an emotion or gets some a person to feel a certain way about a thing.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't have to be just sad things. It can be, you know, joyous things or what have you. It doesn't always have to. Emotional game doesn't mean that it's sad. It can make you feel nostalgic or whatever,
Mhm.
or like super happy. But with Mutation, it's the music, the art style, the story that they're just trying to tell of it being like a little mutant soap opera on a what seems to be like an Italian island, um, with a bunch of crazy creatures and stuff all over it.
Mhm.
The stories that they're telling in there are very real and human, and something that like you could totally relate to, even though it's a giant weird toad person talking to you about it. Like that kind of emotional. It's not even like, I don't even think that game made me cry or anything like that, but it's just like the tone that it sets. You're like, oh, this might get me.
Mhm.
It didn't. I loved it, but it, the trying to tell like real human stories that are, you know, um, sometimes sad, sometimes really nice and sweet. It's just that's the kind of stuff that I'm like way more interested in than Gears of War 8. Like I
Yeah.
just like that kind of stuff doesn't do it for me. And like stuff like I think like if you're talking about emotional games, like the one that everyone is going to bring up is The Last of Us, right?
Mhm.
And what The Last of Us is able to do is like affect you in a way that is not just oh, I played this video game and it was fun. It's like, no, I played this video game and it fucked with my brain for like a few days.
Yeah.
And like I know I'm like a complete weirdo here, but like when people ask me what my favorite movies are and stuff, one of that's always at the top of the list is Requiem for a Dream.
Whoa.
Now, people are like, I saw that movie once and I don't ever want to see it again.
Mhm.
Whereas I saw it and I was like, that was the most affecting thing I think I've ever seen in my life. And like, I'll never forget when I saw it, combination of the way it's shot and the music and everything. Like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'd rather um, sink my time into because it's interesting and it's real and not just let's blow some shit up. I like that too. Let's blow some shit up. That's fun.
Right.
But
There's definitely value in like turning your brain off and
yeah,
you got off work, you had a long day, and the last thing you want to do is flex, stressor muscles, right?
right.
Totally valid.
Yeah.
But it also feels good. It's like a good stretch to be able to do that. Even if, you just got home from a long day of work and it's like, oh, I'm going to boot up The Last of Us so my heart rate will just stay above 100 beats per minute for 4 hours. There's so much in there that the stress of the like brutality of The Last of Us or the gun combat um, can't, or even like if I'm playing God of War and it's a hard difficulty, so like death comes swiftly and often,
Yeah.
To me it makes it sweeter when those slower moments appear in between. I mean, in God of War there are so many moments where it's similar to The Last of Us. You've got father and son in God of War, and you have like at the beginning you have like this brusque relationship between the two of them, and then by the end of the game they're homies, more or less. Like, well,
Yeah.
that's not true, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But in between there's just all this kick-ass combat and stuff, so then for it to slow down and you hop on the boat in the lake and you hear Mimir tell some Norse myths, right? Or they're real in that world, so you hear like some interesting tales where like a ton of the tales that Mimir tells you are all tragic. They almost always end up with terrible things happening. It's like, well, the giants were just minding their own business and then Thor came up and murdered them all, but it's that stuff where it's like those stories do stick with you because it's the reason I do remember one of the actual Norse legends of Thor being a complete piece of crap, and just going on like a drunken rampage, because it wasn't what I was expecting, and it hit me in a way where like the rest of the game made me receptive to something like that. And then when I wasn't expecting it, it just kind of tucked it in as like, here's a little story. And I think The Last of Us does well there. A lot of the storytelling that you like really remember are just tiny little bits and pieces in between the very, the peaks and mountains, right? I wrote here, like, one of my favorite things in video games and otherwise is when the characters in a story treat things that are extraordinary as if they are mundane, right? In a post-apocalyptic world, so The Last of Us, yeah, everything's completely grown over with plants and there are zombies and stuff everywhere, but the characters are just like, yeah, this is the world. This is a regular thing. And that opens it up to tell really unique stories, because instead of focusing on the crazy, hold on, there are zombies, that's nuts. Instead, they're like, yes, there are zombies, we know, we've all seen them. Anyway, here's a cool story between these characters, set on the backdrop of that. And I think video games, because you are the one who controls the character, who makes those actions, to me, that is what makes it so damn appealing, because I'm making those decisions, or the decisions that other characters make are affecting me and what I do. It's something that, like, no knock against other mediums, books and movies and stuff, but to be able to control, to have agency in that story, and knowing that I'm safe on my couch, like nothing as bad is going to happen to me and I can turn the game off at any time. I absolutely love it. It's the reason that I've loved video games for so long. Yeah, I think of some other stuff. I was thinking about Bastion earlier in the podcast. Bastion is today's actually the 11-year anniversary of Bastion coming out. That's the game with the dope-ass soundtrack from Supergiant Games. And I didn't play that game till 2016, and it's a game where, like, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I mean, Bastion's totally worth playing, but I'm not going to explain the whole game to you. But there are these challenge areas in the main hub that are completely optional. And you can go into this area, and it's like, survive for 10 minutes, or don't take damage for 5 minutes or something. And it's totally optional, very difficult, and you could easily breeze by it because it's just a challenge area. Well, I found out when I did those that as you complete these challenges, the game gives you extra story based on the characters that you've met. Story that you only get by doing this optional challenge. And those stories in the optional challenge were the best parts of that whole game to me, because you find out the absolute tragedy of one of the main characters that you otherwise would have just missed. Like, I'm going to spoil this for you. There's a huge apocalypse that happens in Bastion. That's why the world is like completely bananas, because basically somebody exploded a nuclear magic bomb. That's basically what happened. Well, you find out that one of the main characters, it was the night before his wedding. So it was his bachelor party, and then the world exploded and everyone died but him. And you only find out that happened during this optional area. And so I heard that, and I'm just like, whoa! I had no idea that any of this type of storytelling would be here in this game. And the fact that I felt like it was like personal to me because I decided to challenge myself to go into that area. And like when you start the challenge, when you get to the halfway point, and then when you get to the end is when the narrator tells you those bits. That just stuck with me so much. And it happened in 2016. Turns out Bastion is all, the whole game is about how building walls to keep out foreigners is bad for everyone. So pretty relevant that year, even though it came out years before that. But that just really stuck with me. I was not expecting that game to be... I wasn't playing that game for the story. I was playing that game for the music. So I thought they just did a great job of slipping in all of these feels, and I think they were even better because I was not ready for them, But I just wanted to shout out that game specifically because I was just floored floored by that. I think about the way that game impacted me all the time, and even though I just told everybody what happened, I would, highly suggest going back and experiencing that for yourself because it's a testament to the stories video games can tell.
Sure.
Yeah.
That kind of leads into like what I talk about like in my section over here. Games that are poignant to not only just like what's currently happening, but have happened in the past. So like you were saying, building up walls to keep out the foreigners. I mean, that's like real world poignancy, you know. I really enjoy games like that. One of the ones that I really just resonate with was Splatoon 2's Octo expansion. I talk about all the time, like, and I think I mentioned on the podcast too, how that game made me cry. Like, it's Splatoon, colorful inkling children spraying people with paint and whatnot, you know. But like, it has the Octo expansion in particular. You follow the story of an Octoling who like loses her memory, and as you're going under like doing the campaign and everything, you'll unlock some of her memories, and a lot of them are sad. A lot of them are just like, why are we ostracized? Like, why do you treat us like this? You know, because like Octolings are basically, they're like heavily POC coded, right? So this whole time I'm playing as a POC, and you know, I'm gelling with the character. I'm just like, oh my god, I see exactly where you're coming from. This is the society we live in, and it sucks because there was a whole race war in Splatoon. It was a race war. It's called the Great. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like it was between the Octolings and the Inklings, and the Octolings lost, and they were like sequestered underground to this like Metro C area, and that's where they, I mean, pretty much lived their lives until Dr. Octavius, who was actually turned out to be like the general of that race war, like the Octoling general. He resurfaces as DJ Octavius and tries to like, reclaim Inkopolis or whatever. But so you find out where they have gone and where they're coming from and the lives that they're leading and why they do, and you delve into a little bit about Pearl and Marina and their history, and it's just like a lot of brainwashing and societal ostracization, and just outcasting and othering and all this whatnot. And I'm just like, this is Splatoon, y'all. What? Why y'all gonna be like this? And so at the end of the game, it's not like a spoiler because obviously you get out because otherwise you wouldn't be able to play as an Octoling. But you are working towards your freedom at this literal underground railroad because it's a metro train under the ground.
A literal underground
It's
railroad.
a literal underground railroad. So you're working towards your freedom by building this structure, and it turns out the person that's helping you build the structure is actually trying to kill you and your entire race, and the structure is a whole blender. So yeah, you get all past that, and so after all that traumatizing events, you finally get like your first breath of like fresh air, and you see sunlight for the first time, and like there's this one little peaceful moment where like the Octoling that you are is like gazing into the sunrise or whatever, and then Pearl and Marina come in a chopper, and it's just like it was overwhelming. I cried. I was just like, oh my god, I'm free. I'm free. Like it just hit me so hard, and I did not expect a game like Splatoon of all things to affect me like that. But that kind of stuff kind of rings true today. People are still being othered. We good news, speaking of marginalized people, it was just recently ruled that they codified like homosexual marriage into the Constitution. They codified it, so it's going to be protected whatever happens, whatever they want to do. So win for us. I think that's awesome. But
and hey, if I can say this just because it's super relevant, Nintendo, if this is kind of what you're referencing as well, Nintendo said formally that even though Japan does not recognize gay marriage, they explicitly don't allow it, that Nintendo is like, hey, we're officially extending all benefits to same-sex partners as if they were married. We don't care what the country says. And apparently that went out several months ago, and it only just became public. But that's such a cool thing for them to do, especially since, to me, it doesn't sound like they were just doing it as virtue signaling. They weren't doing it as a PR move. But yeah, I just thought of that as you said it, so I wanted to say I'm excited for that.
No, that's really cool. I never knew that. I mean, Nintendo, they're always paving the way somehow. You know, people like to dunk on them, but Nintendo, they're kind of ahead of the curve, like a lot of the time. We just don't realize it until it's too late. Rest in peace, Wii. But games like that, Tales of Symphonia, there was like a whole big race war thing with that as well. I don't know what it is about me and race wars. I don't know. Generational trauma? But that game really, really sticks with me. Between like the angels and the humans and Colette being caught in the middle, that was just really, really hard to bear. Going through that game, I really do highly recommend that. The original one, by the way, not Dawn of a New Age. We don't talk about that one, but the original Tales of Symphonia, please play it if you haven't, for the GameCube, or you probably find out in Virtual Console. And this is the last thing I'm going to mention. The games that I like to play that are emotional, that really get me in like my headspace. I like games that get me in my head and make me think about why I feel the things that I do and why I feel the way I do about those things. Hi, Harlow. Kitty Cam.
Kitty Cam.
You don't want to sit down now. Okay. But that game company is a brand, like a company, not a brand, that has games like that. They're super duper abstract, but even though they are, like, there's no like humans or anything like outright mentioned or portrayed or anything, but it still conveys emotion in a way that I can still connect with, which is hard to do, you know? It's kind of the same reason that trope where POCs get like morphed into animals and like non-human things exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's because when things are abstract, it's easier to connect with. Unfortunately, POC are the only people affected by that trope, but that's neither here nor there. In Flower and Flow, which are two games by that game company, you play as a petal, like a flower petal, and mitochondria, I think, respectively. And in Flower, I actually cried playing this game. You are basically traveling through this like post-apocalyptic world and like trying to reflourish it, you know. Humans have destroyed the planet. I don't know the story, but I assume that's it because everyone's gone and everything is dead. But you're trying to replenish the planet. And in Journey, which is another that game company game, you are trying to get back to your birthplace and like rekindle, like find out what happened to your people. In that game, oh my gosh, I'm just getting choked up thinking about it. Like, it's so, the music in that game, the design, everything just comes together in like this tapestry of just heart.
And there are no words. It's all just through sound and visuals and your character interacting with the world, usually by like climbing or sliding or something like that. But isn't that just like incredible how something like that, no words at all, can have such an emotional impact on its players? Like, you know, it can be hard to describe, you know, I have no words. It can be hard to describe stuff like that almost because it's like something you have to put in front of someone for them to experience, for them to understand. Like I mentioned earlier about common language that people have to talk about those things. And a game like that just uses the things that all of us use in our everyday, just not words, right? It uses these beautiful, like there's cool sand and sliding. You're practically snowboarding in some areas. You're in like a ruined city with the sun at the back. You know, later you're like underwater or on a mountain and all these things. But you've got all this swell of an orchestra. And I remember in that game it has multiplayer, but there's not a party system. You get matched with someone random online. They don't have a username. It's just you and them. No way to communicate except you can hit a button to like flash a light. And I remember I played through that game in one sitting, and I played through most of it with one random unnamed stranger. But I played through, and it was just incredible to connect with this person who could have lived anywhere in the world. Because there were a couple times we like explored little nooks that there ended up not being anything there, but we were only able to reach those nooks because the game has a mechanic that when both characters touch, their jump recharges. So as long as you're jumping together, you can reach basically anything. And I just remember this like moment where I was like signaling to this person with my light that I was like, I want to check out whatever this random corner is over here. I think we can climb. And they came over and we did it, and we climbed high, higher. I thought there's no way this goes any higher. And it just kept going. But we got all the way up there, and you look around and you have this beautiful view of this area. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, we were able to do this with only using a light for communication and patience and curiosity with each other. And we ended up floating down, but we ended up beating the game later. But I messaged that person like a year later because I had a screenshot of their username for when the credits roll, and it finally shows you who you played with. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I had this emotional experience with someone. I didn't know their name. We never said a word to each other. But like, same story. I was able to ingest this emotional experience and also share it with someone at the same time without a word. And it's so incredible to experience that stuff, especially when you're not really expecting it, you know? But I just, what a cool damn thing. Vilas, you played Flower the other day. How far did you get into that slash? Do you know how long it is to beat it?
The entirety of the game. It's 2 hours.
Oh shoot! Yeah, Journey's not much longer.
Yeah, it's longer if you want to complete everything and unlock. There's an additional 6th flower, I believe, and then something else after that I did not do. But otherwise, yeah, went through the credits on the stream on Saturday, so that is there in the VODs. If anytime somebody wants to get into that emotional experience, Flower, definitely a special game.
Yeah. Sav, I hope I didn't cut you off. Sorry, I have such a bad habit of getting all up in my feelings there.
No, no, you didn't. I pretty much reached the end of what I said, like what I had planned to talk about. But I just love that in games like that, such as Journey, the experience. I mean, you go in expecting, what you do because it is a video game, so you know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But then the stories can pan out to be like so different. Everyone can have such a different experience playing the same thing. Like you had your friend that you traveled through with and got to the end with. I actually ended up running into someone too during my first playthrough, and we got to like the big sand pit where those white like manta ray like things come along.
Mm-hmm.
And you first those are the only enemies in the game that you like meet because it's not a very dangerous game.
Right.
But those enemies are like one of the only ways that you can, fail.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had gotten there together and, we're just kind of trepidatiously moving along. And my friend actually got snapped up by one of the rays. And so I actually ended up losing my friend. And,
no.
I didn't get matched up with anyone else, so I
they were just gone.
I spent the rest of my journey like, think about my friend, like doing everything for my friend who I had lost in that sand pit. And it was just like, really, when I got to the end, I was like, this is for you. and I'm really glad that their name wasn't like, 420 Blaze It Fo Jesus.
Yeah.
But like just two different emotional experiences from that one game. And that's just, scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional games in general,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, there's so damn much we could talk about here. I wrote down Firewatch in my notes here. That's a game I don't think of quite as often. I'm pretty sure I was the one who beat that, but maybe I watched Lizzie beat the whole thing. I honestly don't remember. But I experienced the whole thing from start to finish. And that game does an interesting thing, kind of like BioShock, where, I mentioned before, I'm very receptive. I really like it when a game gives me something that I was like open to, but not ready for. So like BioShock, I'm like, oh cool, I get to shoot lightning from my hand. This will be a fun power fantasy game. And then the game starts and you're like, this is a horror game. This game is scary. I had no idea it was going to be scary and I'm scared. And I've always joked about wanting to buy a ticket to a movie, but not knowing what the movie is. Maybe I like check up some boxes. I'm like, these are the genres I like. Now I'm going to pay $5 for a ticket. Give me whatever you got. And by not knowing what type of movie it is, it'll hit me a little harder, right? If I don't know if it's a scary movie, I might be more scared. If I don't know if it's going to be a comedy, I might find it more funny. Well, Firewatch was a game that at the beginning, I remember when that game first came out. Firewatch isn't very long. It's probably 5 hours, so somewhere in that somewhere between like 4 and 10, because my memory's spotted. But it's the game starts, and in the first couple hours, it's gorgeous and relaxing. But then a couple things start happening where I remember feeling like I was waiting for a jump scare, and I remember people online talking about that, where they're like, yeah, the first quarter of that game or first half of that game, I kept expecting something to jump out and like attack me. Or there are a few moments in there where it seems like there might be something supernatural going on, or there might be like a monster or something. But the fact that everyone who played that game and the marketing were all just, they zipped their lips. They said, look how pretty this is. Look how good the soundtrack is. It's worth playing. And no one spoiled what that game is by the time I got to it, which was quite a while later. But the fact that I didn't really know the genre of the game while I was playing it, I felt like made it so much more impactful for me, because I couldn't really brace myself for what was, for anything the game had coming up next. And that's something I really appreciate in games, is when, I don't really have a chance to like steel myself. And the end does or doesn't come quickly. I mean, I remember in The Last of Us, there's a specific spot in The Last of Us 1 where I was like, that's the end of the game. Roll credits, there will be a sequel that picks up from here, but this is the end of the game based on the events. And it's not. It's like maybe 3/5 of the way through the game. There's still plenty of stuff after that. But I was fully prepared, like emotionally. I was like, this is it. Like, this thing happened and it's over. Like, I don't know how they're going to pick up the pieces from this, but it's over and this is the end and everything's sad. And it wasn't. It picked up and just went to a whole different segment of the game. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's right before winter hits for the first time. But I just remember being blindsided by what was happening, and my expectations were just all over the place, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I mean, outside of the apocalyptic kind of stuff and the things that are like Flower and Journey, where it's not really about the humanity of things. There still are so many real stories told in fantastical ways that have been explored a whole lot over the past few years, and I've really gotten into a series of games about grief and of loss and overcoming trauma. And again, we mentioned that kind of stuff may not be for everybody, but at the same time, if you do flex that muscle, there's some really amazing stuff out there.
Yeah. I mean, think about Celeste and what that game is telling you about emotions and overcoming things.
Yeah. Actually,
like,
that was the game. I told a former coworker, I was like, yeah, I'm playing this game. And they're like, what's it about? I'm like, well, it's a really difficult platformer, but really it's about depression and anxiety. And the person was like, how do you make a game about anxiety? I was like, well, let me tell you, and it was kind of fun to be like literally their first introduction to a game that could, tell a story like that. I mean, imagine 20 years ago if somebody pitched a game to you and they were like, it's a story about depression and it's great. It's beautiful, It was like the industry and the world weren't really ready for that. Not to say that those things did not exist, but the world is, the state of the industry is in so much better of a position now to sneak those things in. Because I could just leave that part out and say Celeste is a difficult platformer with a great soundtrack, and then somebody new plays the game and they're like, whoa, I didn't know that this could happen. Like I'm laughing and crying, like this character's sad, but they're joking. And that's how real people deal with, their struggles. So I appreciate that. But yeah, Celeste is like specifically the one where somebody was like, what? Why would you play a game about anxiety? I got enough of that, they said. But yeah, I know the game, I never played this, but I think you did, and I think you didn't like it that much actually. Carlos, Lake by Annapurna.
Enjoyed it.
You
I
enjoyed
didn't like it as much as I hoped I would, but yeah, Lake is it's almost too mundane for me.
it? I
Because
totally get that.
you're literally playing a postal worker, and she's not even really a postal worker. She's a temp postal worker because her dad is like off vacationing for the first time in forever or whatever. But you're that is definitely a game I left that off my list here, but it definitely hits some of those notes because if you've everybody's had some sort of a feeling in the vein of I left home to find myself, and then I had to go back home for this or that reason, and things got weird. And in Lake, it's oh shit, I found out that maybe what I wanted this whole time was to be home. Things have changed since I was last there, and all of a sudden there's this really cute blonde that works at a video store that makes all these movie references constantly, and maybe I should hook up with her, and I totally did in that game because that's the real play there.
Hashtag memorable.
Yes. But yeah, there's so many great experiences. I mean, that is a life game, but something like my most recent one of my most recent games on this kind of list is Inmost. And I cannot tell everybody enough about the whole overcoming of trauma kind of stuff. Inmost literally dives deep into child abuse, like a murder suicide, like all kinds of trigger warnings. Like this is a pixel art game that at first glance you're like, oh, this is like trying to be a horror game but pixel art, and like if you just look at the cover you're not going to understand.
Yeah.
And it's a slow burn, and it's this thing that goes with no spoken dialogue, just text, just this really beautiful pixel art, and it tells a story that you have no idea what's going on in the beginning, and it becomes this fable, and then the end of the game is literally about a 15 to 20 minute pixel art cutscene where all of a sudden this narration actually comes in and basically tells you this whole story of what it meant, and just blindsides you with this game has like all these horror moments. There's actual jump scares in a pixel art horror story that's super surprising, and then it brings out this sweet story that's like, oh, your character, you actually play as 3 different characters throughout the game. They all were victims the entire game for this or that reason, and then a couple of them come out alive and better for the experience, and you find out this whole thing was a deep story about love and loss, and you're just like, I need a moment.
Yeah.
There's so many great stories out there, and there's truth in all of them that you can find, and that's my number one takeaway from any kind of emotion in games. There's so much good stuff. Like Celeste was definitely one for me. Grease, another one more recently, A Memoir Blue. It's literally the narrative designer and or director of the game. It was basically her memoir of her relationship with her mom and what she didn't realize and never got to say to her. Just a wild amount of things and topics that are being discussed and explored in these indie games that are just absolutely outstanding. And if you guys ever need a reference of those kind of games, there's a big old list we can talk about.
Sure.
All right. Well, I mean, I could go on and on and on about all sorts of emotional games. The more that we talk, I mean, the more I think of of certain bits and moments and stuff. But if we do that, we're never going to get to our stray through. Also, Kitty Cam on Sav's camera. Kitty is very cute. I saw them. You got the black body, mostly black body, and then the very white paw that like jets up towards your face. But yeah, I think that'll, unless anybody else has anything to say, then that'll be the wrap on our party topics. So we'll get moving here to Stray in a minute, but let's wrap this up. So thank you, everybody who's stuck around, whether you're listening to the audio version of this in the future, watching it on a Twitch VOD or YouTube VOD later, or everyone who's live in chat right now. We really appreciate you being here. We have got a bunch of stuff on partyinvite.games. You can find our socials. You can find Vilos's latest blog post, which I think was your backlog recap numero 20, if I got that right.
2 weeks worth of games on that one. Yeah.
Heck yeah. How many out of that? How many out of 25? Oh no, it's your backlog. So it's both stuff you haven't played and stuff you are playing. Anyway, I just am still amazed at the fact that you are about to have beaten your 25th game. So I'm going to just keep bringing it up so many times. But yeah, visit our website and you'll find everything that we've got going on there. I wanted to shout out more of what our community is doing in Discord. It's the most active part of our community. We've been playing Overwatch 2. I actually didn't get a chance to play it, but Sav did with a few other people through a combination of getting lucky through the beta drops and buying the $40 instant unlock. Even though Overwatch 2 is free, you pay $40 and you get it now today. You get into the beta. So people have been playing that. If you're interested in that, pop in. We've been playing a little PlanetSide 2. That is like a 15-year-old game, and it sure feels like it. But there's fun to be had. We've been playing Raft. We've been playing Rogue Company. We've been playing a whole bunch of stuff. So pop in our Discord if you're looking for a toxicity-free place to meet people and chit-chat. But other than that, I would say the show is here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. On Tuesdays, we've been playing Prey. We're probably going to just keep playing on Tuesday nights, even after we beat Prey. And next week, we'll be playing As Dusk Falls, which is a game I will technically be in the pilot seat for, but everyone here, just like if we were doing the traditional multiplayer, you will have final word votes. So basically what happens, that is a choose-your-own-adventure game that is definitely in the vein of emotional games. It is a game about family and dealing with accidents and tragedy and people making their own decisions in their own lives. But we vote on, we as a team and chat and here in Twitch, we all vote on the outcomes of what those players do. So I might want something to happen, but chat, if you vote a different way, then that's what's going to happen. The only other difference is we each have veto power, where we can like press a button and get, the thing we want regardless of the votes. And normally each person would only have one, but since we're doing it this way, I technically have unlimited number of those. But I'll say that each of us has one of those going into that story mode. The game's not supposed to be very long. I don't know if we'll beat it in one session, but we'll certainly wrap it up pretty quickly. So As Dusk Falls, next Wednesday after the show, or, after the podcast. Keep an eye out for that. All right, so thanks everybody for listening. That's the end of the podcast. We're going to take a quick break. Stick around for Stray with Chris in the captain's seat. I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Peace, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.